Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Now for today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about Isla Sorna and what exactly is going on with the dinosaurs that originated from that second island. So before I even begin this subject, I want to go ahead and say that everything I'm going to be talking about today in this specific video is only going to be referencing things that are seen on screen in the actual Jurassic World movies. I'm not going to include any information that can be found on any viral marketing websites, because while there are a lot of explanations as to what's going on in canon there with that stuff, I just don't feel like that should be talked about when we're discussing the actual films themselves and what they have to say on their own as far as Isla Sorna goes. That doesn't diminish any of the actual ideas going on those websites. You guys know already, I've gone over them in full detail in the past, and I really like a lot of what they have to say. But as for this subject matter, I literally only want to use the evidence that we can see on screen in the actual movies. And oddly enough, the best place to start is actually the 2015 film Jurassic World within the Innovation Center itself. Now, I've mentioned this before in the past, but if we actually look at the specific moment where Gray turns on the Dilophosaurus hologram to stop Delta from attacking them, we actually get to see this wide shot of a whole bunch of different things within the Innovation Center itself. And interestingly, there's actually two specific dinosaurs that are exclusively on Isla Sorna alone that pop up in this Innovation Center. Now, the reason this is so important is because in the context of the actual filmmakers making the movie, I question why they would specifically put these renders of the dinosaurs in this specific scene, because it doesn't really make sense with the idea that Jurassic World is only including the first Jurassic Park in its timeline. This kind of gets completely thrown out the window once you look at what the dinosaurs actually are, which is a male T-Rex render from Jurassic Park 3, a green Rex that was only shown on Isla Sorna and never shown to ever roam Isla Nublar, as well as the specific quilled male velociraptors from JP3 that, again, were never shown to be on Isla Nublar in any previous material. So from a filmmaking perspective, if they only wanted to include the first movie in canon, I don't see why they wouldn't just put a render of the new T-Rex or the new Raptor within the Innovation Center. I mean, this is technically the new visitor center where they're showing off the dinosaurs that do take part in Jurassic World as a whole. And it's not like they wouldn't have renders already available to use in this specific scene, because we know that they already had stuff like the Indominus cooking at ILM way beforehand, and they could have just used concept art. So it looks like this has deliberately been made to show that the dinosaurs of Isla Sorna are actually being talked about and conversed within the confines of Isla Nublar in 2015. As far as in-universe goes, there's no way that anybody working at Jurassic World could actually get a photograph of a T-Rex that is a male, or likewise a male velociraptor, without having actually seen it and experienced it for themselves or gotten it from the second island in some sort of way. There's also, interestingly, a Spinosaurus tab in the background, which of course was only in Jurassic Park 3. Obviously, the Spinosaurus skeleton on Main Street is a reference to that movie, but I do find it pretty interesting that the Spinosaurus itself is detailed in the actual Innovation Center with information where kids can go up and read about it. These dinosaurs exist within the Jurassic World universe. Male T-Rexes are green, velociraptors with quills on their heads from Isla Sorna, and the Spinosaurus itself, and they're technically just going out and talking to people about them on the actual island with the park. So that alone tells us that, yeah, Isla Sorna is definitely in canon. There is another island with dinosaurs on it, and that's where all this information comes from. This isn't something that's kind of thrown in the audience's face, though, with a lot of expository dialogue, and it's just kind of tucked away within the Innovation Center to show you that, yes, this is a real thing. Now, earlier in the movie, we actually get to see a lot of the dinosaurs in Jurassic World, and this is where I think a lot of discussion could be made about what is actually in the theme park. Because there's the inclusion of a very specific type of Parasaurolophus that could previously only be seen in the Lost World Jurassic Park. These are the male variants that were shown in the game trail scene when Dieter Stark and Roland Tembo and everybody were going to go catch dinosaurs. Now, this parasaur was not on Isla Nublar at all before this movie. This was a Site B specific animal that we had no knowledge of ever being on the first island. If you go back to the original Jurassic Park, the female parasaurs obviously look very, very different in that movie. Now, if I want to play devil's advocate here, I could easily say, well, maybe they just cloned this Parasaurolophus like that for this island. And that's totally a valid thing to say in my opinion. Or perhaps this is just a Parasaurolophus born through the second or third generations of those animals living on the island after having changed sexes. But what's really interesting here is the fact that there are very, very different looking other dinosaurs compared to what we've seen in the previous Jurassic Park films. Specifically, if you look at the Stegosaurus and the Triceratops, these are not the same clones that we've seen in previous movies. The Stegosaurus in particular no longer has a beak, and instead it comes complete with lips, a low swinging tail, and generally just a very different design. Now again, if we look at it from a filmmaking perspective, we can actually see through concept art that Colin Trevorrow's Jurassic World movie seems to have taken a lot of inspiration from the initial Stan Winston concept art that Crash McCreary drew, where the Stegosaurus had a low swinging tail. Now this Stegosaurus does have a low swinging tail in the Lost World Jurassic Park, but it's only in the scenes where it's shown with an animatronic. ILM completely redesigned the animal when it came time to actually do the Stegosaurus in the computer. They're way bigger, they have a tail that is elevated like way high in the air, which is accurate to the paleo record at the time, and we see those predominantly in the film over the animatronic model. Triceratops of course just looks completely different on a lot of different areas, and this again supports the theory that these are new clones made by Jurassic World in order to satisfy the public or just give variation. Hell, if we look at something like Camp Cretaceous, which is trying to be canon within the franchise, we can see that there's actually more different models of stegosaurs that exist within Jurassic World that set themselves apart from the original female-male models from Isla Sorna. So what we've got here is basically not only the introduction of dinosaurs that were on Site B, but also the implementation of brand new clones that were not on Isla Nublar even after the first Jurassic Park movie. Going behind the scenes, Spinosaurus was actually supposed to be in Fallen Kingdom, probably in Paddock 10 if I had to make a guess, since Paddock 9 is where the T-Rex was, and Paddock 11 is where the Indominus Rex was. I've gone over before in the past about how it was supposed to fight the T-Rex at the base of Mount Saibo, but yeah, none of that really happened, so we can't really talk about that being on screen. Now what we can talk about is Eli Mills directly mentioning Isla Sorna by name in Fallen Kingdom. There's also the entire reality that Benjamin Lockwood mentions John Hammond's speech, which was given on TV at the end of The Lost World. Once again, pretty much cementing the fact that Isla Sorna is in fact in continuity with the Jurassic World movies, and that it's a real place you can go to. That being said, there's also dialogue in Fallen Kingdom that suggests that Isla Sorna is not in the state it used to be. A woman on the BBC News claims that when the volcano blows up in Fallen Kingdom, that's going to kill off the last living dinosaurs that are known to be on the planet. Now, as I've mentioned before, Jurassic World shows evidence of Isla Sorna being an island because we see evidence of those specific dinosaurs that only come from that island having representation in the actual theme park. And Eli Mills and Benjamin Lockwood both reference the island and the events of The Lost World within that fifth movie. This whole speech about Nublar being where the last living dinosaurs are known kind of makes it clear that there's not a lot left on Isla Sorna. And I think with their inclusion in Jurassic World, it's kind of obvious that whatever happened wasn't very good for the second island, and they had to have gone in there at some point in time and take them from that place over to Nublar. But does that mean Isla Sorna is dead and gone? Well, I'm not so sure, to tell you the honest truth. Jurassic World Dominion, while it hasn't come out just yet, there actually is an embryo box that has the words Isla Sorna printed on it clear as day. I'm not so sure that's going to be an integral part of the next movie's plot, but as far as the Jurassic World series goes, Isla Sorna does still exist. It had dinosaurs on it in one point in time. We don't know how many are left, but it looks like it's literally been pillaged for the new theme park that was built on Nublar. In the 14 years from JP3 to Jurassic World, there was a lot of stuff happening within the dinosaur islands that went down for this new park to be made. Knowing that at some point in time, ACU or someone had to go into Isla Sorna to get photographic evidence of a very specific green male T-Rex and a very specific quilled velociraptor, as well as information on the Spinosaurus and the male parasaurs, I think it's pretty safe to say that Isla Sorna is not just something that's been forgotten about. Now, it hasn't been mentioned that much in the movies, but to say that it isn't mentioned at all is hyperbolic and kind of objectively not true. Now, will Dominion fully explain the truth and reality that happened on the island in between movies? Maybe, but I'm not so sure it will. Like I said, I only want to look for evidence that's actually on screen for this video. There are explanations for what happened on the island in the DPG website, and that stuff will more than likely be solid canon for the foreseeable future, probably even mentioned in Dominion. It could also be a narrative that's been framed by dinosaur advocates to try and drum up sympathy for the second island. Maybe there's a lot more dinosaurs on it than a lot of people know. Or maybe the reason they think that there's not that many animals on it is because they're not supposed to. And it's gone so far as to actually enter the propaganda of news media in order to keep it secret and safe. But with that being said, I'd love to hear what all of you guys think about the Jurassic World incorporation of the Isla Sorna animals within the actual film canon on screen itself. What do you think about the male T-Rexes and male Velociraptors and Spinosaurus and Parasaurs being shown within Jurassic World? What do you think that means if you were to walk in there in the actual universe and look up some of the information that was written about them in the Innovation Center? How many dinosaurs do you think were actually taken from the second island and put over into the first? And what do you think of Isla Sorna as a whole, now that Fallen Kingdom has explained that, yes, it exists by name, John Hammond's message did happen at the end of The Lost World, but there's not really a lot of dinosaurs on it, if we take the BBC News being true. Whatever your thoughts and opinions happen to be, I'd love to hear them in the comments down below. Now before I go, I'd like to thank all of my game wardens, as well as all of my InGen executives. I'd also like to thank all of my park workers and InGen hunters as well. Guys, it seriously means the world to me that you all continue to support what I do, and I never want you to ever forget that. Now, I'd like to thank you all for watching today's video, and hope you all enjoyed the content. If you feel like I deserve it, I'd appreciate the like and hope that you'll consider subscribing if you're interested in hearing from me again. I'll see you all in the next video, guys, and as always, take it easy.